Alright, today I'll be replacing a U-joint on a ATV. This is going to be the exact same process as the UTVs, and any make and model is going to have a U-joint and yoke set similar to this. Obviously shaft size is going to be a little different. U-joint is going to be a little different with these caps and clips. Some of them are going to have a grease cert on them, some aren't. Then the nut that attaches to the shaft is obviously going to be different on the different years and models. But overall, replacing the U-joint is going to be exactly the same on any make or model of any ATV or UTV. A lot of motorcycles, if they have them, will have the same style of U-joint as well. Alright, at this time we're going to pull these clips out, and like I said, we can, if we're just pulling this yoke set off, we're going to just take these two clips. If we're replacing the entire U-joint, we're going to pull all 4 clips. That way we can pull these caps out. So the reason why I tell you to grab 2 screwdrivers, a lot of times when you are tapping on these clips, it'll just continue to spin in the groove that it is in. So if you have 2 screwdrivers the same length, you can get in there and tap on them and hit them both on the same side, just like this. Tap them, and a lot of times that'll pop them off. So the reason why you need 2 screwdrivers is to get them at that right side there to be able to get them off. So I'll do that one more time. Find the 2 ends there, and if they're continuing to spin around, just take and tap on it just like that. You can see that one there just popped right off. You want to make sure that when you're doing this, a lot of times I like to try to keep my finger on one side or the other, just to keep that clip from popping completely off. And then once you get them started just a little ways out, if they are going to not gonna spin, like I just showed you there, you can just take and get in behind there with a screwdriver and pry them out. Sometimes it takes a little bit bigger screwdriver than this, but we got them out there. So just slide them out and do the same on all of these. And these are doing pretty good at not spinning. So I'm gonna put my hand in behind there so it doesn't fly out there. And then also it's good to wear eye protection, just so you don't get hit in the face with a clip. So go ahead and pull that off of there. Now we've got all 4 clips out, and I'll show you what to do at this point. Again, if you're just removing the entire yoke set, all you got to do is get to maybe this nut here. Then what you need to do is take these 2 caps out. So I'm going to take and turn it like that, and I'm going to put my hand underneath to try to prop this up like this. I'm going to tap on it down. You can see there, us tapping on it is pushing that cap out, and doing the same on this side. So we're going to keep on doing that. And you can see there that cap is starting to come. As soon as it kind of breaks free and starts going, a lot of times they'll just kind of start sliding out. So this one's kind of unusual. It's pushing these out when I'm tapping on these up and down. So for whatever reason, that's doing that. But we got to get these top and bottom ones out. You want to make sure that you don't turn it like this and maybe it's hitting something down and below here. So now if we turn it this way, you can see we've got this cap out. We're going to reuse this. We're just trying to get this yoke set off of here. So we want to make sure those rollers are all in place in there. And then getting this other side out, we're catching on something here, so I'm going to guess that some of those rollers kind of fell out of place. Alright, this cap is off there. That's not how you would normally do it, because typically if you're pounding down, it's going to push the bottom one out, not the side one. So at this point, we'll go ahead and tap this side out as well. Now this side came out, and as you can see there, those rollers kind of went all over the place, which is pretty typical when you're putting caps back together. So if you're not reusing the U-joint, you can go ahead and just tap on this side. If you're reusing the U-joint, you don't want to do that. So next thing that you can do, you can pull this off of here. And again, if you're not reusing the joint, you can take and do the same thing, but just tapping on this. All right, the cap out is out now. Now we're able to take our U-joint out. We got a new one here. We can throw that new one back in here. I just put here for demonstration so I can show you what that looks like on the inside. This U-joint is actually way too big for this machine. So that's what it looks like on the inside, the caps, and then we have our pins here. Typically when you buy a new U-joint set. It'll include clips. If there's a grease cert, it'll include the grease cert. Obviously new caps, but this one's in great shape until I dinged it all up here. So what I'm going to do is just utilize these yokes and get the right U-joint to put in here. All right, we've got the U-joint off here. We're ready to go back together. If we've needed to replace this yoke, take and spin it off with the 22 millimeter on this one. Again, it's going to be different for different years and models, but make sure you got your washer on there. Slide it back on just like that. Put our washer and our nut back on there. Make sure you tighten it up good, and then go ahead and take your new U-joint here, slide it on there, and then what I do is take those caps and I'll push this post out as far as I can, then I'll slide the cap on as far as I can. Make sure that those pins or your rollers in there are held in place, and then I take and I'll tap on this. And make sure you're still putting pressure on here. This is actually holding the pins in. So don't stick your finger in here. Don't put it in here like that, or you're gonna smash it, but make sure you're putting pressure on here, and good pressure, because every time you hit this cap, it's gonna push that out. Now the next thing, grab your other cap here, and I'll slide this down slightly, and I'll put my other cap on as far as I can. Now if you've got this shaft off of the machine, you can use a vise for this or a press, and it'll do a great job. But if this is the case, we've got your nut on here, everything's attached to here, maybe we've got this motor still in the machine, then we're just gonna have to do it just like I'm showing you here. Now I take and I put pressure on this side now, same thing on this side, just tap this in. You wanna make sure you can still spin this, make sure it spins good, and then go ahead, go a little bit farther in. I continue to spin it so that you know that it's spinning good. Go and do the other side. Now, when you've got your clip area, your ring there through, the cap is far enough through, then you can put your clip on there. That's as far as you need to go. But I go ahead and keep putting pressure on it, keep swiveling it back and forth to make sure that it's not tightening up. If it's tightening up, you want to back it out and try again. Probably one of those pins is bound in there, that or you've just got it too tight on here. So this side's tight enough for the cap, or the clip there. So I take it and I'll slide that in just like that. Then that side needs to go a little bit farther. That's good enough for a clip. Make sure that your clip's gonna slide in there. And then I like to make sure, if you need to take a screwdriver then, tap it in, just make sure that it's all the way in. You can do that. Now you take your other half of your yoke, slide it in just like that, and then same thing with this side. So take your cap there, make sure your rollers are all in place, push this post out as far as it can, that way it goes right and straight into those rollers. Slide that cap on there, and then keeping pressure with the cap and that post in there. Take and tap it down. Remember that these caps started sliding out when we were tapping on it from the side like this. That's why we need to make sure that those clips are in place before we start doing this. Now we get that about halfway or maybe a little more. Make sure those pins are in place. You can put a little more grease on there if they're not in place, if they continue to fall out of place. It's not a bad idea to put some grease on there. A lot of times when they come new, they've got plenty of grease on there, but it never hurts to add more. It's just gonna push it out if it's got too much. All right, same thing on this side. Slide that down in there. It looks like some of our rollers are kind of falling out of place there, so I'm gonna take a screwdriver, kind of push it back into place. All right, and then we've got it back on there. Make sure it moves properly, up and down. Make sure it moves freely. Take and tap on both sides there. We could get our clip in that one, so take the clip then. This one's a little more challenging because of having that other yoke on there. Take your screwdriver then, make sure it's properly seated. Make sure that groove's exposed there as far as it needs to be. Then find a position where you're comfortable getting that in there and slide it in.